Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Cal making the return trip to Auburn in 2024. And I think at the very least, I think this game's going to be a little bit more fun to watch from a fan perspective where when you go back to 2023, yeah, the game was fun to watch because it was competitive in the fourth quarter, but both of these teams were not playing very good football 12 months ago. I think both of these teams are significantly better heading into 2024. I think I want to get into a few big storylines, obviously get into the prediction at the end of the episode. But I think for Cal, I think you're looking at two different things. One, this ongoing quarterback battle between Fernando Mendoza and Chandler Rogers. And I think a lot of Cal fans feel like Fernando Mendoza is the guy. I don't think he wowed any of us against UC Davis, but he seemed to be the more effective quarterback in terms of moving the football. I think the biggest storyline for the Cal fans is what's the health looking like for running back Jaden Ott? I think we all know that this Cal offense it largely runs through Jaden Ott in terms of not only being a ball carrier, but what he can do out of the backfield. Left the game in the third quarter with an injury, did not return to that game against UC Davis. You talk about big storylines heading into this one. I think Jaden Ott would probably be the one to keep your eyes on. Then you look at this Auburn team, and I thought and quite frankly, they looked far more impressive than Cal did, both playing FCS opponents. Auburn's offense did everything that we were excited for them to do all offseason long. Peyton Thorne looked extremely comfortable at the quarterback spot year two in the program. But I think more importantly, the difference makers on the outside, one, they just look and feel different. But more importantly, they're putting together on the football field. You had 7 pass catchers catch the football for 20 plus yards during that game against Alabama A&M. And I get it's an FCS opponent, but we didn't see that at all in 2023. So this Auburn team, from an offensive side of the football, I think is significantly more explosive and more dynamic heading into this matchup than they were a year ago. Want to get into a few more storylines now before we do, and as always, these game predictions have been a blast, and the amount of support y'all have shown the fellas, I can't thank you guys enough. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, would love for you guys to let it fly in the comments section, whether you agree with my pick, whether you disagree. Let it fly in the comments section. That's the best part about doing this. And without further ado, let's get into this one. I want to start with this Cal offense going up against an Auburn defense that, look, they played solid. They only gave up 3 points against Alabama A&M. That being said, I think it can be better for this Auburn team, and I think you should expect it to continue to get better under DJ Durkin and Charles Kelly. There is a little bit more of a complexity to this Auburn defense, and that you got some new faces. I think this Auburn defense is going to continue to settle in to what DJ Durkin wants to do on the defensive side of the football, and you start getting into some of the key matchups. I think it really does start with if Jaden Ott is healthy, you got to do your best to take him away. And if I'm DJ Durkin and I'm at Auburn's defense, I'm walking safeties into the box and I'm trying to stop this Cal rushing attack, because when Cal struggles to run the football, they get behind the chains. That is when they struggle as an offense. And then I watched that game against UC Davis and say, all right, well, if you're going to roll your safeties into the box, you probably got to leave your cornerbacks on a little bit of islands. From what I saw against UC Davis, there's not necessarily, and I would love for the Cal fans to kind of tell me in the comment section, is there a wide receiver in this Cal offense that is necessarily striking fear into this Auburn secondary? Because I don't know if there is. You look at the spray chart for Fernando Mendoza week 1, he only threw 4 passes to the boundary all game. It was very centered around those slot wide receivers over the middle of the field in those short intermediate portions of the football field. There wasn't much of a vertical passing game within this Cal offense. It's kind of clear what they want to do. They want to get the run game going and they want to get the quick passing game going. So if I'm Auburn, I'm trying to take that away. And I'm going to challenge Fernando Mendoza to push the ball down the field to wide receivers that we might have some question marks about. And quite frankly, I think we have question marks about Fernando Mendoza pushing the ball down the field himself. I think the second key for this Auburn defense is keeping Fernando Mendoza, whether it be Fernando Mendoza or Chandler Rogers. Both of these quarterbacks want to get outside the pocket. They want to extend plays. I think that's going to be more important than this Auburn pass rush, where you want to probably focus more on collapsing pockets and being disciplined in your rush lanes than just pinning your ears back and getting after a guy like Fernando Mendoza, because he does want to get outside the pocket. He wants to keep his eyes downfield, and that is seemingly where he's most comfortable. So if you can do a good job keeping him in the pocket and taking the run game away and just challenging him to be a pocket passer that's pushing the ball vertically down the field, that's probably how you get a guy like Fernando Mendoza uncomfortable. Now, what are some of the answers for this Auburn defense? One, potentially quarterback spy. You got a guy like Eugene Asante who has tremendous sideline to sideline speed, probably can make plays in space on a guy like Fernando Mendoza. Are you going to trust a guy like Eugene Asante to maybe do that? And maybe you're backing off some of those linebacker blitzes that we know DJ Durkin is kind of known for and being a little bit more conservative just in this matchup. And again, that's the conversation where do you want to get away from your principles as a defense because of what you're seeing at Cal, or do you just want to run your defense? I think that's one of the things I'll be most interested in for this Auburn defense. And again, take away the middle of the field, force him to work the boundary because it is clear that he does not want to work the boundary. Now, on the flip side here, I think Cal plays a very solid defense. And what Cal does really well is they don't necessarily give up the explosive play. They'll let you get some yards. You look at UC Davis, they had over 300 yards of total offense. That was more than Cal had in this football game. What killed UC Davis is when they tried to do too much, Cal made them pay. Cal is, they forced 3 turnovers. I believe 3, maybe even 4 against UC Davis. I think one of the things I'll be looking for is, we've talked extensively about Auburn pushing the ball down the field and hitting those explosive plays vertically. They certainly have the playmakers to do so. And I'm not saying you don't try to do that, but I think one of the things you're looking for Payton Thorne is also take what's there. Like, you don't need to force it down the field if it's not there because you got some difference makers underneath, whether it be Sam Jackson or Malcolm Simmons or Bryce Kane, guys that can operate in space. And so one of the things you might be looking for here is, can Payton Thorne, take what's there, methodically work your way down the field, and they'll go execute in the red zone. I think that's probably the recipe for this Auburn team. And again, if Cal wants to start squeezing down, go win over the top with a guy like Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson, or Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think the second thing you're trying to do is probably test the speed of this Cal defense in space in terms of getting the ball to the boundary, whether it's working Jarquez Hunter more outside the tackle on some of those run schemes, whether it's kind of some quick games out to your playmakers at the wide receiver spot. This is what I think makes Auburn's the offense, so much better than it was last year's. You have different guys that can do different things, right? Cam Coleman, a guy that is going to stretch the field. Perry Thompson, a guy that's going to stretch the field. You also have guys like Malcolm Simmons or Sam Jackson or potentially Robert Lewis, who's back healthy, that can operate in those short intermediate passing concepts and operate after the catch with the football. That's something that I think they can get after Cal, where, Cal plays very disciplined defense. They don't give up the big play. That being said, I wouldn't say they're premier athletes. I think Auburn has the better athletes. I think they're faster on offense than Cal is on defense. So get your guys in space and go let them do the rest. Those are probably some of the keys that I'm looking for this Auburn offense. Now you get into the pick here. This line opened at 10 points. It's up to 13.5. I like Auburn here, and I do like this Cal team. I think they're going to be solid in the ACC, but I look at kind of the firepower and talent and really just what you saw in week 1. And again, I don't think it's smart to just read into two teams playing an FCS opponent. That being said, Auburn looked like the much better football team. I think they're the more talented football team. And I think most importantly, this Auburn team has a little bit more of an identity than they did last year, where they went across the country to Cal, not knowing if Payton Thorne was going to be the guy, sprinkling in a guy like Robbie Ashford, not having any playmakers on the outside that could make plays for you outside of Rivaldo Fairweather. I think this Auburn team they went on the road last year against Cal, and I think they got better in the offseason more than Cal got better. And I think that's kind of what it comes down to. You get them at home. Cal has to make the cross-country trip. Give me Auburn to cover 13.5. I think this Auburn team continues to be a little bit undervalued. I think this Auburn team is really good. We're going to see how this one plays out. And I think for Auburn fans, what you're most excited about is you're going to get a better sense of what this Auburn team is, because Cal's a good team. This is a good football team that is going to challenge you in certain ways that Alabama A&M couldn't. We liked what we saw against Auburn or against Alabama A&M on Saturday. We're going to get a better feel specifically for this Auburn offense against Cal in week 2. We'll close it out there. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.